how crowdfunding works in indie films. Crowdfunding isn't saving most indie films, and it's not because the platforms are broken. Most filmmakers are chasing the wrong outcome, and by the time they realize it, the campaign is already dead. In this video, I'm going to show you how crowdfunding actually works in indie films, why most campaigns fail before they ever have a chance, and under which circumstances it can actually be helpful. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss future breakdowns like this. Have you ever noticed how crowdfunding gets talked about in indie film circles like it's the miracle solution to getting funded? Most people talk about it like it's the thing that's gonna finance your entire film. It's very trendy, but most filmmakers find out the hard way that it's not all it's chalked up to be. I want to talk honestly about how crowdfunding actually works in indie films, not the hype version, not the webinar version, the grounded real world version, what it's good for, what it struggles with, and how producers should realistically be thinking about it. Can indie films use crowdfunding to get their film funded? Yes. It is possible. There are many conditions here I want to share with you so you don't waste time and so you do it effectively. But before we get into strategy, I want to share something my business partner and co-founder of Indie Film Ins and Outs here, Mark Klebanoff, told me so you can understand the perspective we're coming from. He is an indie producer and sales agent who has been producing feature films for over 20 years. And he's not someone with a massive crowdfunding resume or a long list of Kickstarter wins. He's personally done one crowdfunding effort in his entire career. And it wasn't even to finance the movie. The film was already finished. He used crowdfunding to raise PR money so they could actually release the project properly. They raised around $10,000 to $15,000, and that went towards hiring publicists and getting the film seen. And honestly, in our opinion, that is one of the best uses of crowdfunding. Something small and tangible that's about helping the movie succeed, not raising a full 6 or 7 figure budget. Everyone thinks about the Veronica Mars movie that raised over $5 million in crowdfunding. And there are others out there that talk about how they used it to raise huge 6 or 7 figure budgets. Yes, it's possible. Those types of results are not the average. When you see that happen, there's almost always a very specific reason. Celebrity involvement, a massive built-in audience, a fan base that already exists and is emotionally invested in the creator or the subject matter. Or the person's a beast in networking and marketing, and that's usually the only way to accomplish raising those budgets. Do you have time to become a full-time marketer in order to successfully crowdfund at that level? Do you want to? Do you have thousands of contacts, podcasts you're going on, influencers you're partnering with? Do you have A-list talent in your film? Most people have maybe 1,000 or fewer contacts. And after a couple emails, you really see who is going to support you. And then what? Say this to be harsh, it's just the reality. There's only so much you can send to your network before they start to tune you out. You know, one guy I saw posted about running Facebook ads to crowdfund. Is it possible? Yes. But how many of you are Facebook marketing experts? I will tell you that it is very easy to lose money on that platform. So do you want to learn how to become a Facebook marketer to fund your film? Also remember that you have to pay advertising costs. So every dollar you earn through ads is not a full dollar. So now you're having to calculate profit and loss. And I will tell you from personal experience that Facebook's not very friendly these days with the newest algorithm change. So it's an uphill battle. But is it possible to raise 6 or 7 figures? Yes. Is it likely for most filmmakers? Sadly, no. I've seen dozens of filmmakers in our program excited about running crowdfunding campaigns, and most of them come back empty-handed or nearly empty-handed. They may have raised a small amount of funds, but not the full budget they expected. They usually come back frustrated and disillusioned. But I would say it's because they're approaching it the wrong way. As Mark says, it's good to look at crowdfunding not as full film financing, but as supplemental funding. That distinction is everything. Crowdfunding is a great way to raise seed money. It works as first money in, and that's not a small thing. The hardest money to raise on any film is first money. So if you can show that you raised $15,000 in crowdfunding, that's $15,000 less than you have to raise from investors. And now when they ask, well, who else has invested? You can say that you already have $15,000 in funding raised. Boom. Now they're not the first money in. It's also great if you need to raise development costs. Usually, if an investor comes in to give development funds, they get 30% or 40% return on investment because it's the riskiest position to be in. If you raise development funds through crowdfunding, you don't have to pay it back, and you don't have to pay back the interest. Crowdfunding can also work really well as finishing funds or post-production or as gap money or for additional marketing and PR. Ideally, you raise all the funding you need before you shoot, but as we all know, films often go over budget. So in those scenarios, it can be incredibly useful. And people are usually very supportive of giving funds to help finish a film. But in all these scenarios, we're talking about raising $10,000, $20,000, maybe up to $50,000. Not trying to raise 6 or 7 figure budgets purely through crowdfunding. Most filmmakers are working with modest networks, a few thousand followers, friends, family, peers, colleagues, and that's normal. There's nothing wrong with that, but it does change what crowdfunding can realistically do for you unless you have some bigger out. And subject matter matters. The more compelling, timely, or emotionally resonant your project is, the more attention it can attract. If it's niche with a following, that can help. For instance, if it's a martial arts film, you can sometimes tap into that community and they may really rally behind your film. And occasionally, crowdfunding isn't just about raising money, it's also about visibility. So Mark was telling me a story of a filmmaker he knows who ran a crowdfunding campaign and ended up connecting with a legitimate investor, someone who was browsing Kickstarter looking for interesting businesses to put money into. And that's the key part. The investor wasn't interested in becoming a backer and donating. He was interested in investing. So he put money into her film as an investor. So you can find investors through crowdfunding. There were also big backers on crowdfunding sites that look for projects to support. And also, like I said, some investors who do the same. And we're talking about 5 figures, right? Big. Now let's talk about platforms because this matters. The most popular platforms are Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and Seed&Spark. And Seed&Spark has become popular with filmmakers partly because of fiscal sponsorship, which allows the contributions to be tax deductible. And that can be appealing to certain supporters, but every platform comes with trade-offs. One of our filmmakers expected a ton of support from the Seed&Spark platform and didn't raise the funds she wanted. She felt they didn't give her the level of support and promotion she was expecting. But according to them, they have a high success rate. So who knows? It's a possibility. But on this platform, you get to keep what you raise even if you don't raise all of the funds. Indiegogo is also a platform where you get to keep what you raise even if you don't raise it all. But the platform has recently changed to be a little bit more confusing than it used to be. So even if you've used a platform before, they're now asking for all sorts of documents and not being very clear about what they're asking for. So setup is taking a lot of time and energy and is confusing and frustrating. So even if you used it before, you're now being forced to do this new style and formats. Don't expect to jump back in and start your campaign right away. Just plan for the extra setup time if that's what you really want to use. Now, Kickstarter is a famous one for being all or nothing. You hit your goal or you get nothing. But apparently, it's now trying to become the #1 platform for indie films, which is kind of cool. And there are a few tricks to make it work for you. We've gotten constant feedback from people in our community who've run crowdfunding campaigns, and the pattern is pretty clear. Crowdfunding isn't something you can launch cavalierly and hope it works. It's a campaign, and it takes a massive amount of effort to be successful. And on Kickstarter in particular, momentum matters. One tip we've heard that seems to give campaigns a boost is trying to raise roughly 30% of your goal in the first 24 hours. That helps you to get a Projects We Love label, and when that happens, Kickstarter puts you on their website and actually starts promoting you. This is a way to get in front of people outside your network, and it's pretty cool. So plan ahead. Find your bigger backers in your network and prep them early. Prime them so that they're ready to drop their donation in the first 24 hours. And if you've already raised some funds, it might be worthwhile to put a bit in yourself just to those first 24 hours just to lift you up. Sure, you'll have to pay the 7% processing fee, but people are psychologically much more inclined to fund a project with momentum that looks like it's going to reach its goal. And getting that Projects We Love label really gives your project a boost. But your goal also needs to be realistic because Kickstarter is an all or nothing platform. If you miss the target, you don't get most of the money, you get none. So set a number you can actually hit, not a number that looks good on the screen. We have heard that it's a good rule of thumb not to aim any higher than like 50K. We successfully hear that our filmmakers raise 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. When they aim for 250 or higher, that's when we hear those campaigns fail and the frustration goes up. Another cool tip we heard is to treat your backers like they are part of the team. Backers aren't just donating. They're choosing to attach themselves to your project. The campaigns that perform well tend to treat backers like an extension of the team. Their communication, consistent updates, and a sense that their support matters. And when it comes to rewards, the smartest approach is usually the simplest one. Give away as much easy to fulfill value as you can. Give away digital access to the film, a premiere, a special screening, a test screening. Avoid giving perks that turn into a fulfillment and shipping problem while you're trying to make the movie. The last thing you want is trying to ship out a bunch of merch when you're about to start shooting. And the platforms will be following up with you to make sure that you deliver. So make it easy for yourself. And just as a practical note, on these platforms, you still have to vet people. Crowdfunding platforms attract scammers and time wasters, especially when money is involved. If someone claims they want to back you at a high level, don't automatically assume it's legitimate. Verify who you're talking to before you click links or invest time. This probably goes without saying, but if you can include a proof of concept teaser, that gets the most excitement in your project. It gives people something real to react to instead of asking them to fund a pitch. And if you can't do a proof of concept, a fantastic teaser and pictures can help too. But anything you can do to get them excited about what you're creating goes a long way. In recent years, there's been a push towards equity crowdfunding. And on paper, equity crowdfunding sounds attractive. Contributors become small investors. They share in the potential profits. It sounds more serious. But equity crowdfunding introduces real risk. As soon as you're dealing with investors instead of donors, you're dealing with contracts, fiduciary responsibility, and legal liability. One bad situation can derail an entire film. Films can potentially get stuck in distribution because one investor went rogue, filed a lawsuit, or got into a dispute with the producer. And when that happens, everyone else suffers. So are there safeguards with equity crowdfunding? Probably. Have platforms tried to mitigate risk? I'm sure they have, but the risk doesn't disappear, and producers need to understand that before they go down that road, just to be aware. Plus, there's also the hidden cost of crowdfunding that almost nobody budgets for properly. When you promise t-shirts, hats, posters, or physical rewards, those aren't free. That $25 donation isn't actually $25 once you manufacture the item, package it, ship it, and account for platform fees, or $100 or $1,000, whatever it is. And if you're running paid ads, Facebook, Instagram, like I said earlier, now you're paying to acquire donations. Suddenly your math looks very different. And $100 raised is not $100 in your pocket. And of course, every platform takes fees, usually around 5%, but don't forget the credit card processing fees. That adds up to around another 3%. So you're only taking home about 91 and 92% of what you raise. And then you add merch and ads on top of that, and the amount you take home will be less. You're still taking home money, so I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just mentioning it so you can be aware and not be surprised at the end of the campaign that you didn't raise as much as you thought you were going to. Another thing filmmakers underestimate is the amount of time needed for a campaign. This is not passive income. This is a full-time job. It requires a dedicated person running the campaign, preparing ahead of time, creating emails, social media posts, podcasts, DMs, answering questions, whatever you can think of to leverage your network and reach other people outside your network. People will be sending you messages, asking you questions, and responding promptly increases your chances of getting their donation. Responding to questions promptly on the crowdfunding platform can make the difference between getting a 4 or 5-figure donation or getting nothing, or losing it. Also, keep your campaign shorter. 4 weeks is a good length so people don't lose interest. And try to get that momentum early. Like I said earlier, people don't like backing projects that look like they're going to fail. They want to see progress. They want to see traction. But again, all of this takes energy, planning, time, and you have to ask yourself an honest question. Is this how you want to spend your time, or do you even have that time available? Crowdfunding can be exhausting. I've watched filmmakers email every single person they've ever met. Daily outreach, daily posts, ads, messages, and after all that effort, only a small percentage actually raise meaningful amounts. But when they do, it's a celebration. Now, if you want help applying all of this, because understanding how crowdfunding and distribution works is one thing, but building a film that's actually set up for success is another. We put together the Creative Producers Filmmaking Roadmap. This is the framework we use to strategically plan a project from day one. Development decisions, funding strategy, packaging, distribution, positioning, deliverables, and the common traps that quietly absolutely cost filmmakers money, leverage, and momentum. It's not theoretical, it's practical. It's designed to help you make smarter decisions before you're already in post, already committed, and already dealing with the consequences that you can't undo. It's there to set your film up for success. So if you want that roadmap, it's linked below. So could crowdfunding work in indie films? Yes. One of our filmmakers recently used crowdfunding to raise the last $50,000 she needed to greenlight her film, and she went into production. And the other filmmakers in our group are seeking to follow in her footsteps and do the same. That's when we all celebrate. Crowdfunding is like anything else. It's one funding source. Use it well, and it helps you further your film so you can get it made. Is it easy? No. Is it often oversold? Yes. And is it most effective when used as supplemental funding instead of primary financing? Almost always. This is why we focus on reality. Crowdfunding is a tool. It can be helpful. It can open doors. It can create momentum, but it's not a miracle solution, and treating it like one sets filmmakers up for disappointment. The producers who succeed are the ones who understand where crowdfunding fits in the bigger picture. They use it strategically, they manage expectations, and they don't confuse visibility with financing. Because at the end of the day, filmmaking is still a business. Every funding decision has consequences, and crowdfunding, like everything else in this industry, works best when you understand what it actually is, not what people promise it will be. So go out there, do your crowdfunding, get your seed money, and use it. If this was helpful, make sure to like the video. It generally helps the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss future breakdowns like this, and ring the bell so you know when new videos drop. And check out some of our other videos where we go deeper into how to fund a film or what a producer does, so you can be sure to set your film up in a way that's going to get it the most success. All of our videos here are designed to unpack the parts of filmmaking that usually get glossed over. The decisions, the trade-offs, and the business realities that actually determine whether a film moves forward or stalls out. And if there's something you're stuck on or a topic you want us to dig into next, leave us a comment below. We read them and they directly shape what we cover in future videos. So I'll see you in the next one.